Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play cast, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. This is episode 262, recording on May 17th. You're watching it on the 18th or later, and we've got somebody being a bit of a schmack, but maybe not as a big a schmack as people originally thought he might have been being when he was being a schmack. But he's still a schmack, so we'll talk about that. We've got a few surprises, maybe, in a top 25 list, and a piece that Jason wrote that I kind of like. I know.
Really?
I know. I kind of like.
You sound really surprised about that.
Yeah, I like a lot of Jason's writing, but this one in particular, we'll cover that at the end, but also to introduce him, Mr. Jason Winter. How are you?
He said he likes a lot, but not all of it, apparently.
Not all. Hey,
No.
hey,
I just want to remind everyone, though, that, with all the new privacy stuff going on, the GDPR and whatnot and all that, I just want to remind everyone, this website uses cookies.
Yeah. Super Monday Night Combat bites the dust in a week because of that stuff. Go ahead. Also on the line, Q. How are you, Miss Q?
I don't have any cookies.
I don't either.
I do, however, have fried apple pies, so...
Oh, I feel vastly, under dessert prepared for today's cast. I have my iced tea, and that's it. I have an exploding kitten keychain. I don't know. It doesn't help. Let's get started with the news! Alright, so now... We kind of called this. Dead on, actually. So a few weeks ago, and I promised a viewer, by the way, who commented on the news article that we will not stay on this topic for 30 minutes. Because they said for sure I was going to be angry and talk about it for 30 minutes. I don't think it's worth 30 minutes, honestly. So we're not going to do that. But, predictably, as we talked about when it came out, Radical Heights will be the last venture from Boss Key Studios, as Cliff Bleszinski took to Twitter, dropping an announcement that the studio was no more. So its incredible pantheon of games includes Lawbreakers and Radical Heights, which there's no official word on when that'll be going away. It's just soon. So enjoy it while it lasts. But one of the things, Jason, that made this particularly not surprising is the way it all went down. The Lawbreakers went silent late last year, and then all of a sudden, at the end of the quarter this year, we get Radical Heights, a project they've been working on for 5 months, mysteriously coinciding with the Lawbreakers' silence. And on this very cast, we speculated that was... oh shit, we're in trouble, we've got to get something out there that produces a bit of income. And it turns out that's exactly what it was, right?
Yeah, but on the other hand, I am surprised at how little time passed, to be honest, because, what was it, 3 weeks ago? Maybe 4 weeks, maybe a month ago? Yeah, it was April 10th or something, I think, was when Radical Heights came out, early access, whatever. So... if you're Cliff or whoever else is Cliff Bleszinski or whoever else is in charge of the accounting or whatever at Boss Key, what were you expecting to happen over the next month? Were you expecting this was going to be the next PUBG and get 1 million people playing at once and half of them spending money or whatever? Because
yeah.
I can't understand how you would think that this has to be some spectacular success over the next month or we're done.
Yeah, and I mean, I can't even see hubris, Q, allowing you to go there when you're putting something out in early access that in a lot of places didn't even have textures yet. I mean, you can't reasonably have thought this is going to go gangbusters to the point that it's going to save our studio. I think the bills just came due faster than they thought, maybe.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. So it's also possible they just subscribe to the Fox theory of things, where if it's not successful really quickly, just drop it. I don't know.
Drop everything?
Just drop everything, go. Yeah, the Fox has been doing that lately again. I mean, they did it really bad back in the 90s, but they're doing it again, so I'm watching it on Twitter.
It's hard not to disagree with that, with the way Lawbreakers was handled. All this talk about things they wanted to do with it. It wasn't a sprint, it was a marathon, fuck the media, all of that stuff. And then it got abandoned. Literally. everybody went quiet, and turns out they were working on Radical Heights. Now, this stuff happens, right?
Sure.
Small studios in particular, whether or not they're headed by somebody that has a name as recognizable as Cliff Bleszinski, or by Joe Schmo who just started a game studio company. It's a risk of any new business, but particularly games, that if your first one or two don't find some traction, you're probably in some hot water pretty quickly. So I'm not blaming Cliff for Boss Key failing. I may think he had some choices that he made the wrong way that contributed to it, but I'm not going to put it all squarely on him. Of course, we feel for every single employee there and hope that they get on their feet soon. I saw Blizzard, Q, your buddies at Blizzard reached out to them pretty quickly via Twitter and was like, here's 200-some positions that we need. Go take a look.
If you watch Twitter after any one of these layoffs or shutdowns or anything like that, it's kind of like, it makes me sad, right? Like, their projects failed, the company's dead, whatever. But then you sit there and you watch, and it's like Blizzard, ArenaNet, Riot, like everybody just coming out and going, hey, we got positions. Just come talk to us right now. Like, everybody. If there's a game developer, I mean, there's probably some that aren't, but like my Twitter feed for a couple of days was just full of game developers going, yeah, we'll take you. No problem. Just,
yeah,
you know.
and Cliff, to his credit, has been retweeting various things about where somebody at Boss Key was linking a bunch of employees saying, hey, please pick up these employees if you're a game developer, and he was retweeting that. I saw him replying to people saying, let me know if you need that letter of recommendation. So at least on the public standpoint, from the public standpoint, he seems to be doing the right things under the surface. The problem that I have with is the way this all went down, Jason. There was a report by, I think Massively started it first, right?
I think it was MMORPG.
I saw it on
MMORPG
MMORPG first.
Okay.
But Cliff saw it on Massively.
Sure.
And the report was that maybe the Boss Key employees learned about the studio closing the same way we did, which, by the way, was Twitter. Cliff Bleszinski put it out on Twitter in a statement that I'll read you. It's very short. As of today, Boss Key Productions is effectively no more. 4 years ago, I set out to make a world-class video game studio, and I hired some of the best talent in the video game industry. They worked tirelessly to produce quality products, and while we had our ups and downs, I'd like to think we had fun doing it. Lawbreakers was a great game that unfortunately failed to gain traction. That's always the reason, right, Jason? That's your favorite.
It just unfortunately happened. We don't know how.
And in a last-ditch attempt, we scrambled to do our take on a huge battle royale genre with on the huge battle royale genre with Radical Heights, which was well received. However, it was too little, too late. So exactly what we kind of pegged it as when it came out of nowhere. As for myself, and this is why I'm reading this statement, because I want to talk about this. As for myself, I'm going to take some time off and reflect. I need to focus on myself and family, as well as my Aussie Teddy, who is slowly fading from us. Video games will forever be a part of who I am, and I hope to make something new again someday. However, I need to withdraw and take this time. To those of you who supported myself in the studio for these last 3 years, thank you from the bottom of my heart, and everyone who came to work for me. Please note that servers for Radical Heights will remain up for the near future. Thanks again, Cliff. That was via Twitter. Now, what happened was Ron LaJoie, the producer of Radical Heights, the lead producer, tweeted later... TFW is what? That feeling when? That feeling when your 10-year-old daughter sends a screenshot of the press release about your studio shutting down and asking if everything is going to be okay, and a little smiley face. It is really easy, Jason, to read that tweet and think, oh my God, he didn't know his daughter sent him the press release, and that's how he found out. I don't fault MMORPG or Massively or even our own initial interpretation of that message, because it's very, upon later reflection, maybe he's just reflecting on the feeling of his daughter seeing that and wondering, Daddy, are we going to be okay? And not necessarily it being the way he found out about it. So Cliff was understandably upset, saying that's not true, what we and other sites reported. Ours had May all over it because we weren't quite sure if they knew about this or not. And some other sites have corrected things. We put an update on ours, although ours was, more speculatory than anything anyway. It sucks. It just sucks all around. But I do have problems with the way it went down, Q. Do you?
Oh, I mean, just the entire thing, the way it just kind of all just ran into a wall, basically, and then what you're saying here with, him tweeting about his dog, basically what that tells me is, okay, if the staff didn't find out about it that way, their families did, because dude didn't even have time to go home and tell his family that he no longer had a job, which is a really shitty position to be in when you haven't even had time to sit your family down and be like, well, this is what happened. It's like all over the place. And it's not even that the press just found out about it. It's like Cliffy's put it out there. And of course, every one of those people's kids and wives are on Twitter. I mean, come on. So, that's a hell of a way for your family to find out that you're no longer gainfully employed. I mean,
now, the reality is, Jason, and you and I have both been through it in our lives, layoffs, you typically don't, as an employee, as a run-of-the-mill employee, see them coming. You may have heard rumors and things like that, but the way layoffs work, particularly with a company closing, is you generally find out about it the day it all goes down, for sure. Again, you may have heard rumors. And that part I don't have a problem with. I'm going to believe Cliff and take him at his word that there was a meeting and that this was all held. That makes sense to me. Sure. That they wouldn't find out until the day of, and there's many reasons for that. Obviously, employee safety is a number one. You never know how anybody's going to react to this type of news. So I'm going to give Cliff, I'm going to take him at his word and say there was a meeting privately with the company beforehand. Not a problem. My feeling on it is the press should, or Cliff's tweet in particular, should not have gone out for a while. I have a feeling that came way earlier than it should have. The big problem I have with this, Jason, is this son of a was bitching all over Twitter in the last 3 weeks about people being poached by other places, and I don't buy for a minute that somebody in Cliff's position found out about the company closing that day.
I don't know if he was all over Twitter. I mean, he made like the one or two tweets like a few weeks ago about Epic poaching his people. I know about another guy who was an art director on PlanetSide 2. He went to work for Boss Key, and I know he left about a month and a half ago or whatever. So yeah, I mean, and the co-founder left like 6 months ago. So people have been leaving the company because, again, you can kind of see how Lawbreakers was doing, and maybe they know Radical Heights was happening and didn't think maybe have the greatest confidence in that. So people leaving the company over the past few months to find what they would think would be more steady work.
Right.
What is the problem with that?
Right. And if you, as Cliff, in that leadership role, if they're getting the rats need to jump off the ship mentality, and you know for a fact that the ship is going down, I don't buy for a minute that Cliff 3 weeks ago, when he was literally accusing another company of poaching his employees, didn't also know that maybe that was the best thing for that employee.
Yeah.
And then still making those types of public statements. And Q, to your point, his statement, I hated his statement. It doesn't say a lick about the staff. Besides, they were great people. I hired great people. We had some fun. I'm going to go take care of my dog. And Cliff financially, obviously, is going to go Cliff is going to be fine, right?
How privileged do you have to be to take off time to be with your ailing dog? Not your wife, not your kids, your dog.
And I'm not even faulting him for being able to do that. He's the one that put his career in a position where he had the money, where if he wanted to do something, like, God bless you, more power to you. But you just made an announcement that you're shutting down your entire place and all of your people are out of job. This isn't the statement to talk about, I'm going to go spend some time with the wife and dog. This is...
Right, well, that's what I mean. It's like...
He's doing the right things under the surface. I see the tweets, Cliff. I see them where you're offering letters of recommendation, where you're retweeting these other things. but your announcement sucked, man.
And the even better part was, despite him saying, I'm going to take time off from the game industry now, etc., he then tweets out a bunch of other ideas for games that he had, and so on. And it's like, I'm taking time off, but I want you guys to know I'm still an awesome game designer. Here's my cool ideas that would totally work.
Oh my god!
And speculation by a lot of people is that he's actually looking for someone to pick these ideas up.
Oh no, he's tweeted that he's already pitched them to Sony and this and this. There was a tweet about how big the balls you have to pitch a $40 million project to some company. No, you don't. No, it does not. Cliff, I'm sorry, I can't go with you on that one as somebody not in the games industry, but somebody that pitches multi-million-dollar projects to my company all the time. All the time. It doesn't take balls to make that presentation. It only takes balls to make that presentation if you know the project isn't worth the money you're looking to get from them. And I'm not saying that's the case. I just thought it was a little pretentious to be talking about the stones it takes to make that presentation. No, it doesn't. And this isn't the time to be doing that. Do the stuff that I see you doing in other areas front and center, because these were your people. They were great people. They did come to work for what they thought was going to be a great studio. It didn't pan out. Whose fault is that? You can argue about it all day and all night. Doesn't matter. Help these people find some jobs. Don't talk about your damn dog and these visions of dragon games. By the way, one of them looks like a dragon version of Warframe with some additional features. You even use the word ninja in the thing, so it's like, whatever.
Dragons and ninjas.
The whole thing just rubbed me the wrong way, Jason. Even if I take him at his word and everybody was communicated to, Q, to your point, there should have been more of a time lapse. I think it should have been more employee-centric. And Jesus, don't take to Twitter yelling about people leaving the ship when you know full well it's got a hole in the bottom, Jason.
And just the last kind of weird thing about this was that it was done on a Monday. Usually when that sort of thing happens like on a Friday, or at least they announce on Thursday and Friday's the last day or something. Kind of weird to do it on a Monday. I don't know.
Yeah. That's kind of whatever, but
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's weird because they usually, want people to finish out the week or whatever, but that's...
Well, there ain't nothing to work on here. So.
Yeah, compared to every, to the other stuff that's going on, that's whatever.
The final word I want to say on this is, when we talked about this before, Jason, I reserve the right to change my mind. If Nexon became public knowledge as being more involved in some of these decisions, I don't think Nexon had anything to do with any of this type of stuff anymore. Q, maybe to your point, it's the creative not aligning with somebody that isn't the creative but knows the business.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I know. See, that's the thing is, Cliffy's he was more of a creative than a business.
And he says that in his recent tweets, too. He touts the creative.
And I think this is the mistake he made. He was the face of the things that he did, right? Like, he was the rock star, the face. And some people interpret that to be like Steve Jobs being the face of Apple for so many years. There was a period of time where they would not let Steve do stuff with Apple because he was bad at the business stuff.
Right.
Like, he was too much of the face and didn't understand, and they had to send him off somewhere to learn some lessons to figure out that business is different than, just having the reality distortion field and getting up there and telling people they want crap. But I don't think Cliffy's had that. Like, I think he still functions as the face and has no idea how the business portion of it works in reality. I mean, he might know a little bit better now, but...
Well, I think, I was just going to say that. I think the danger is that he thinks he knows, because he's been in the industry for so long, because he's seen so many things, because he's had the stones to make $40 million pitches, he feels like he knows the business side. And Jason, I feel like, and that's not to say it would have been a successful company, but I feel like he really, really lost that when his partner left after Lawbreakers. It's a messy situation. We wish the best to the Boss Key employees. And I want to give Cliff the benefit of the doubt, but I find it hard to on a lot of these things. I see him doing the right things, but they're hidden behind. You have to look. You have to look for him doing what you would have expected to be part of the press release.
They're hidden behind the face.
Hidden behind the face. Well, I hope his dog's okay.
Yeah.
Moving on, so recently a new zoo published the, do they do this every year, once a year?
At least for the last 3 years, since 2015.
Yeah. They published the top 25 public companies by game revenues. And Jason, I don't think there's any surprises in the top 5. Those have been consistent, you know, since the dawn of time.
Well, not quite the dawn of time, at least the last 2 years.
Not
exactly
the third one. Not in gaming, not the third one.
Yeah, well, that damn app stores, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of what it counts, yeah, obviously. But I think, let's see, if I look back at the 15, same companies, different order in 15, but exactly the same order in 16.
So the top 5 in order were Tencent, which I don't think any of us on this panel are surprised by because they own pieces of everybody else.
Tencent is the video game company.
Right.
Like, all of them.
They're like, hey, all of our money is an aggregate total of pieces of number 2 through 24. Kidding, they don't own portions in all of them, just most of them. Number 2, Sony. No big surprise there. 3, Q's a little bit surprised that Apple jumped to 3. Was Apple a little lower last year? They were still top 5.
So top 5 were the same last year.
Since the beginning of time.
Oh, come on.
And Apple.
Oh, come on, Q.
Apple wasn't involved in gaming at all. So.
Well, neither was anything else. Tencent wasn't around when they were cavemen.
Okay? I can't believe you held that against me being hyperbolic. Number 4.
When the Big Bang happened, first you had photons coming together, then you had Apple rising to the top of the charts. Yeah, there you go.
Number 4 is Microsoft, and number 5 is Activision Blizzard. Now, it should be pointed out that some of these companies don't release full numbers the way these are being aggregated, so they are based on a certain amount of estimation. You know, Tencent, they have their full information. Sony, that's an estimate. Any surprises when you start looking at 6 through 25 for you two, Jason?
I was kind of surprised to see Perfect World up in the top 25.
I was too.
I mean, they just... I don't want to diss on anybody who likes Neverwinter or whatever, but they just don't seem like a big deal. But I can't even see what that is back there.
It's Neverwinter.
Okay, that's right, because you got all the loot boxes. Right.
Maybe Disney,
because
Disney kind of ceased to care about most of its gaming stuff a while back, so... Well,
they are the only one on the top 25 list for this year that went down from the previous year.
Carrying 627 loot boxes right now. That's why Perfect World is number 23.
Probably.
I was surprised. This one kind of stunned me that Konami is still there. Now, I know they do very big in, like, the pachinko machines, and some mobile stuff, but over the last X years, you know, when was the Metal Gear Solid 5? That was a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
You know that.
Well, this is 2017's numbers, so I mean, that's...
Right. So I mean, they're still getting a little help there, but I was surprised that they were still top 20, given that they're not generally even what you think of as a mainstream gaming company anymore, as much as I love Castlevania and Metal Gear Solid and things like that. Your boys with Guild Wars making the list, NCSoft.
It's interesting, too, because it's all about their Lineage mobile game or whatever, because look at their quarters. They list it's 165, 208, 641, 444. They're actually up the most out of any company on the list, so...
Here's what's funny, Q. You brought up Disney kind of being surprised that they're on there. They're the only ones down year over year, according to this report.
Well, like I said, there was a time when I was like, oh, yay, Disney Interactive and everything. And then suddenly they are just like, yeah, we don't really care anymore.
So they were down. Let's see. Hang on. This is their 3rd year in a row going down. They're down on all 3 of the years they have there.
Yeah, that is not the direction you want to be going in.
I mean, I guess if they really don't care about it, you know.
Yeah, if they're giving up on the gaming. Yeah.
I don't want to say, well, you know, they can't give up on gaming. We need a Star Wars MMO, and I just don't feel like this one's going to last much longer.
We have a Star Wars MMO.
It's just not going to last.
They shell all the Star Wars stuff out to other companies, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Sega. Speaking of like why I was surprised to see Konami there, Konami was number 20, by the way. Sega came in at number 24, still making the list. Again, I know they do very, very well in some smaller areas, but just generally, I would not have expected it to be enough to crack the top 25 there for me.
How's Fantasy Star Online 2 doing?
That's mean.
I don't like you.
I
don't like you.
Nobody does.
Jason, I got to ask you this as a Lord of the Rings fan. I was kind of surprised that Warner Brothers not only was on the list, talking about games revenue, but was as high as it was at 14. I mean, I know they do. They not only do they have the the MMOs and stuff, but
they don't really.
They don't even have those anymore. Actually,
Harry Potter games.
Yeah, but the Harry Potter games, they're not all that great. The
Batman games,
the Shadow of Mordor,
Lego,
Shadow of Mordor
Lego
stuff,
games, and all of that.
I was just surprised to see it that high. Warner Brothers beat out Take-Two Interactive, Square Enix.
What has Take-Two done lately?
Yeah, that's a good question. Take-Two's all over everything, though. Oh no, that's 2K that I'm thinking of. What has Take-Two done lately?
Now you gotta look it up.
I do. Take-Two Interactive. Here we go. Where's your? I don't want to see your page. I want to see your wiki. Nothing.
Did they get enough of a piece of Rockstar for GTA stuff?
NBA. So they got the NBA 2K stuff.
Okay, that's why I wouldn't know.
Oh, in 2017, I did not know this. They acquired Kerbal Space Program.
Oh.
Pretty popular game.
Popular but niche. It's not going to be like a $100 million franchise that's probably denting this chart, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, Take-Two. It's 2K that handles Grand Theft Auto, right?
Rockstar is a publishing subsidiary of Take-Two, so.
So that's where it is then. I was right. I screwed myself up thinking I was wrong. Yeah, when Take-Two Interactive, I mean, Grand Theft Auto just pulled in what, $500 bajillion in Grand Theft Auto Online? Yeah, it's like around
forever. Yeah, just keep it going.
Well, wait.
Why did I think that was 2K? I don't know. I was right the first time. I shouldn't have doubted myself. Q, you made me doubt myself.
The founders of 2K is Take-Two.
All right. So, yeah, so I'm not surprised to see them there, but I am surprised to see Warner Brothers have beaten them. Square Enix, Mixie, NCSoft, CyberAgent, Konami, DNA, Disney, Perfect World, Sega, and 37 Interactive. I don't even know what the hell 37 Interactive is. So that one surprised me. Are we looking that up too now?
Yeah, I'm looking that up. It's not on Wikipedia.
Wow. It must be maybe...
Total for this year...
Is it a Chinese company?
858 million. USD.
Trying to pull up their website, but it's very slow. It's in Shanghai, so there you go. Probably 37 games is what it's also called.
But what? Probably mobile then? Big time mobile.
9 browser-based... English platform has 9 browser-based games.
Okay, so
mobile game available.
If it's in Shanghai, then it's probably actually owned by
Tencent. If any of you know 37 Interactive, they like Jason just said, they do browser-based games, so we probably have them on the website. They're just not generally something we cover in the news, so I'm not familiar with the title. Yeah, Netmarble at 11, by the way. Okay. Up 82% year over year. Way to go, Netmarble. Yeah, good list. Good lists. No other surprises? Jason, what are you researching there?
Well, like I said, just the one different thing was how like almost everything was going down, or not everything, but let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 companies were going down in the 2016 chart, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 going down in the 2015 chart, but only 1 going down in 2017. So
that's because gaming is dead, Jason.
Yeah, right.
Gaming is dying. It's
that
dying.
Or all these companies just like NCSoft to figure out, hey, mobile.
All right, so let us know. We have an article up on MMO Bomb where you can take a look at the top 25. Let us know if there were any surprises for you. A couple on there that I was surprised to see there at all, but I was more surprised with where a couple fell. Sega, Konami, stuff like that. Finally, Jason's piece that I was a big fan of this week. Now, we don't want to spoil it. We don't want to spoil it. We want you to go to the website and read it because not only is it interesting and we think you'll enjoy it and we'd like you to come to the site, but we may be doing some more with this type of content. You know, not many places offer it, so we're thinking about doing a little something more with it. So we'd love your feedback on the article, and I'll put a link in the YouTube description right to the article. But Jason, what was the crux of the piece here?
Well, I basically thought of the term Battle Royale, which of course is in everything nowadays. I think Call of Duty just announced the Battle Royale game like 2 hours ago. That's what they're gonna have for their next one. So yeah, it's everywhere. And I just started thinking to myself, where does that come from? Because I have the online etymology dictionary bookmarked on my computer. I'm into stupid geeky stuff like this. And of course, we all know that Battle Royale games currently are somewhat based on the novel and the movie about the Japanese schoolgirls killing each other or whatever.
Right.
Based on that. Of course, as a wrestling fan, in the 80s, I thought of
Battle Royale and Royal Rumbles.
Yeah, exactly. That was my first thought. And beyond that, though, I didn't know where it came from. So I just started digging down the rabbit hole, going further and further back to find out where it came from. And it had a rather interesting origin as far as I could tell. So,
Q, what did you think of this piece? Did you read through it?
No spoilers.
I was actually sitting in chat and he was relaying
when I gave you the first
and
bit,
I just thought it was hilarious. Like,
definitely. Go ahead.
As far as interesting piece to read, definitely. But since I got to sit and chat, and because he's like sitting there researching and going, "Oh, so this is this," and here, let me quote you all of these things.
Yeah, and by the way, we should note that there are other references that we can assume would have happened, but we were looking for documented proof of some of these references to Battle Royale. Of course, people threw gladiators in Jason's face, and while we can assume that, but go ahead.
The notion of a bunch of guys fighting in a big brawl probably goes back to the dawn of time.
Right. We were looking We were looking the etymology of the title itself, not just gladiatorial combat and what it referenced. So really interesting piece. Check it out. I'll put a link in the description below. But let's get over to the weekly bombs. Q, you're up.
Oh, am I? You know what? I'm going to give an A-bomb to leaky things that cause our carpet to just be super wet for like 3 days. I seriously thought our apartment was going to start leaking into the apartment below because our air conditioning unit decided to leak, but we couldn't turn it off because if we turned it off, it'd be like 98 degrees in here. So we just had a super wet hallway for several days.
You and the roommate there, you guys are playing a lot of Path of Exile, huh? How's that going?
He's playing a lot of Path of Exile.
Oh, I've seen pictures on Twitter that show your monitor with it on.
No, that's not my monitor.
Oh.
That's his monitor. I just pictures of the bird.
Man, I was fooled. I was fooled by the Twitter.
I'm playing Star Trek Online, and I even said that on Twitter because somebody was like, Path of Exile.
Hold your thought on that because a viewer actually asked, and I want to save that for there. Go ahead, Jason.
All right, I'm going to give a dub bomb to Paradox Studios for like a month ago giving away Crusader Kings 2 for free. I've got over 120 hours in the game.
Oh my god!
But I got to give them an A bomb for also making it free because now I'm going to buy their DLC.
Oh damn!
It's a trap.
Man,
but I'm at least going to wait like going to wait at least for the spring summer sale. So
I'm going to give an A bomb to layoffs and poor communication. Speaking of Royal Rumbles, that is a terrible tag team. Also, not a loss. Also, it's not free to play, but I do feel like I got to mention it. An A-bomb to Bless Online's PNR trying to say that a subscription isn't a subscription because of what you pay for. Not the fact that it's a recurring charge every month, and that's what makes a subscription a subscription. I can have a magazine subscription I can have a book subscription. I can have a 10% bonus XP subscription. They're all subs. They actually, on Steam, say this is not a subscription because content in the game is going to be free. You don't have to subscribe to get the... It's still a damn subscription. Stop it.
Okay, wait. But it is required that you have this sub, right?
No.
Oh.
You just have to buy the Guild Wars. You know, buy the box. Okay,
so buy the
optional
play.
sub.
Right.
Yeah. From the viewers, it's just so stupid. And by the way, so the costs have been announced: $30 if you want to get it when it actually releases, $40 to $150 for different Founders Packs if you want the early access right now, and they have varying degrees of things in it. Those are totally different from what they announced just the end of last week because of the blowback that they got for those Founder Packs, the prices, and what was in them. Oh, God. It's just, yeah, it doesn't inspire confidence. Doesn't inspire. But I'll still be checking it out.
It should be noted, too, Radical Heights changed their, buy-in pack, too, after people complained about it. So it's like, From
the viewers, Coldfire1080 says, A-bomb to Star Trek Online for a list of reasons too long to type here. Question for everyone on the free-to-play cast. How do you feel about Star Trek Online? Q, we're going to save you for last because you'll have the most in-depth, valid opinion. My totally not in-depth, totally not valid opinion, take it for what it's worth, is the game never struck a chord with me because I never was invested enough in the ship combat or enjoyed the ground combat enough to stick with the other one. So it just kind of laid flat for me. I love Star Trek. The game just didn't work for me. So I can't go any further than that. Jason.
I swear I'll get back into it someday. I said it's been 2012 since I last played it, and someday... Maybe they said they picked up their skill system. I don't know if they said anything about inventory, but both of those were just a mess when I was playing. So if those are better, then maybe someday, maybe, I don't know.
All right, so there's Jason and my totally not players, invalid, we're just a bunch of whiners opinions. But Q, you've actually been playing a fair bit of STO lately, as you mentioned, so give us the real opinion that matters.
Okay, so... like you guys, I actually played it way back in the day. Like, I played it during beta, and there's actually, like, the start out that I remember for beta is not what I did when I came back this time. Like, it seems like they took, like, just completely wiped some of that out, or maybe I'm just remembering it wrong. I honestly don't know. But, I mean, the ground combat is... generic ground combat, and the space combat is kind of whatever. I'm basically playing it for the environment and the story, stuff like that. Inventory still sucks because they want you to pay for it. I mean, like, you have about this much, you need about this much. I'm constantly spending time breaking things down to turn them into other things. But, I mean, for someone like me who's kind of like an MMO nomad anyway, it's fine. I'm in it for the story. I'm not really going to be invested in the raiding and all of that stuff for any length of time. Like, I am doing some of the group content, but only in so much as it's the first time they gave me the quest, therefore I'll do it to progress the story. One kind of deal. I'm not really bothering playing with a fleet or anything like that, so... I think it's maybe a different play experience for me than it would be for people who really want an MMO to be invested in.
Jason, take the next one while I go ahead and gather my professions.
Okay.
They're done. They're done. 6 hours. They're done.
Elusive X Treasure says, "Da bomb to Atlas Reactor's new Lancer Lex. She's a blast to play. Pun intended."
Zing!
Ha 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 ha. Q, take the next one.
Thanks,
Jason's just gonna...
You're busy, Mike. You're busy, Mike. I got this.
Cerulli, welp, Daybreak's days are numbered. Aw. However, I suspect that mainstream media will never research enough to realize that Daybreak was owned by Renova. They might skirt under the radar. Meanwhile, gaming circles are fully aware of the connection.
Don't bank on that one. Don't bank on that one. I think there's... I'm just to keep us out of legal trouble here, even my own personal opinion... I think there's a name associated with both Daybreak and the other companies involved that will naturally be part of any digging in by SEC or IRS and all that stuff when all these sanctions go live. I don't think if they are or ever were attached that it's going to go under the radar.
Well, thank you, Derek Smart.
You know who will figure it out.
Oh no,
first?
no, no! The name I'm not teasing an Easter egg like Mr. Smart was. I just don't want to say the gentleman's name. A widely reported name in all the context of the Daybreak stuff. That's all I'm gonna say.
It'll probably be an hour-long essay on the Rachel Maddow thing at some point, because she did the same thing with the WoW connection with Bannon and his connection to WoW.
Oh,
so.
Jason Palmer says, it's okay enough. Complaints to the Treasury Department, and they won't get away with them covering their tracks. So Jason kind of right up the same alley. If there's enough complaints, they aren't going to get away with it. Go ahead, Jason. Here comes Soul Card giving me some shit.
Soul Card says, Mike, DC, you ain't getting a crossover event.
Something I did say.
They already had it.
Yeah, they did. They already did. I went and looked it up after I saw the comment. You're totally right. I was totally wrong in being a pithy asshole, and I was off base. Go ahead, Q.
By the way, that last comment, he did the shifty eyes.
I didn't know how to emote that properly.
Shifty eyes.
That's this? Shifty eyes.
Well, I mean, you can try to, but... Okay, Raggerty, shit. Also, Super Monday Night Combat is getting shut down by GDPR, though no one was playing it, which sucks because that was one of the first hero shooters I played, and it was fun. It was fun, but the devs abandoned it for their RTS game, which you never heard about anymore as well. And you mean back in the day you would have to ask your parents for use of credit card? What? Hell, I remember when I had to pay my dad for monthly WoW sub or it was cut off.
Yeah, and when we were talking about that, I didn't, yeah. When I read your comment, I thought the same thing. I was like, anytime, Jason, this is probably the same for you, if I didn't elaborate, but if I wanted to use Dad's credit card, it was hand Dad the cash, and then would be able to use the credit card for something. So it wasn't like Dad just, okay, yeah, you could go ahead and use it. It was, I had to hand him the cash for it. So I'm the same way. I
never used my parents' credit card for anything.
It didn't happen all that often. It usually was in result to ordering something. Back in those days, right? You did it over the phone or through a mail order slip. Yeah, stuff like that.
They'd write a check for me for that. Something like that.
What, Q?
Your parents let you do that?
A couple of times, not often, no. But
We never ordered anything online until my dad died and I got Social Security from benefits from him, and my sister and I each got him, and my mom stupidly let us just to get our own checking accounts, and I was ordering crap all the time.
Raggerty, I don't know your age, but as far as paying a sub, subs came later in my life. I already had, a debit card and stuff like that, so I didn't have to ask Dad for that. I was, playing Final Fantasy 11 in 2004 when it came out, and I was already in my 20s. So Raggedy, maybe you're a couple years, maybe you're a couple years older than I am, and that would put you right in having to ask Dad for a WoW sub, or a couple years younger. I'm sorry, but yeah. Next up, Spider0804 says, Sony Online Entertainment, Daybreak Games, days were numbered when they destroyed Star Wars Galaxy and turned PlanetSide 2 into a money mill. All right, no. I'm not going to blame Star Wars Galaxies. I think that we kind of all just need to get over that one. But PlanetSide 2 being a money mill, Jason, how do you feel about that? You're more PS2 experienced than I am.
Honestly, I haven't played it for like 2 years now, so I don't know how it's progressed. It seemed a little bit like it was getting to be almost like I feel towards Guild Wars 2, in that it could still play free to play, but they steer you a lot more towards the cash shop than they used to.
Fair enough. Go ahead, Jason.
Dixie Norm. Oh God, what a name!
I'm actually sad you're the one who got to read it. But.
What's the definition of unlovable? Jason Winter's smile. Edit. I'm sorry, Jason. I should be making fun of the two morons who haven't seen the movie. I didn't realize the fun in a 1 versus 99 mode, especially when he's easy to kill if he's not played correctly. I say just go for the head.
Go ahead, Q.
Nintendo debombed a little orbit. They acquired Gamers First and APB. They have yet to experience what they got themselves into.
I agree.
What I can read from the CEO,
I agree.
Is that he has a fair idea of what has to be done and what should be done. The A-bomb part, however, is for the fact that we all heard it before, actions speak louder. There is hope. Is this next paragraph with mine? Or
Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
A bomb to a German holiday. It made my driving Force GT arrive a week later. To Forza Motorsport 7 and Turn 10, Forza is the worst possible racing game in history of the PC. Its optimization and stability is the worst I've seen lately, and the Nier Automata port is already a disgrace. Wow, that's just a whole bunch of negativity.
That's a rough week right there.
Damn.
Question of the week last week. What company would you like to see own the EverQuest IP and why? And assuming it would someday go somewhere. Elusive X Treasure says, for the question of the week, look, I love EQ. It was my first MMO, the game that made me fall in love with the genre. I even still go back occasionally. That said, I think I'd almost rather see it put down than pawned off to any of the likely companies. It's true, we don't know what Amazon is capable of game-wise, but we may never know. And we don't need another EQ next tease. As for EA or Blizzard, I don't want to see what they would do to my beloved game. With EA, we'd get a half-finished game with lockboxes and questionable monetization galore. With Blizzard, we'd get copy-pasted features of whatever was hot at the time, and a game a 2-year-old could play blindfolded successfully. I don't think any of those have the vision to make something suitable, even if they have the cash. No, I think I'll hold out the hope that Pantheon will be as good as it looks and gain enough traction to stick around as a modern EQ. Yeah, and I kind of put Amazon out there, Jason, and this is something that maybe I didn't make clear last week, and my rationale is, to your point, I don't see any big company just buying it up to have it. There's no inherent value in it, in the IP as it stands right now. It's not. I can't believe it's making money that would be, to your point, it's not worth a purchase. It's not worth a purchase. My thing was, if you were going to buy this, you would have to have in your mind, we're going to sink some money in this and make a project based on this. And really the only one I could see being even remotely interested in that would be Amazon, because of how much money they have, and B, the fact that they don't have anything in their library right now besides what might be coming. So they're just putting money into projects anyway. So a little caveat that I don't think I made clear.
I've got the perfect solution.
Don't buy it?
EverQuest to Cliffy B.
Next, go ahead, Jason.
Breckner Catalan says, question of the week. EA is an expert at taking over studios and IPs and ruining them, so they might really love EQ.
They don't have to do anything. Go ahead, Q.
Tepic 11, question of the week. I don't think any mainstream studio would take EQQ as it's too old to fit. The Pantheon studio could take it since it's pretty much a modern successor and already has links. I guess anyone but Tryon who'd utterly destroy it through utter incompetence.
Yeah, and I don't think Tryon would be viable due to what I just said. I don't think they have the money to be sinking into doing a project, which is what you would be buying the IP for, not to scrape up that fat EQ and EQ2 cash.
And any company that already has their fantasy MMORPG isn't going to take it. They don't want to compete with it. You know, they have Rift. Pantheon has Pantheon. So I mean, I can't see any of those, doing it.
Amazon's the only one I could see, but
yeah.
Even that's a stretch, I think. Squeezy says, question of the week, after Daybreak falls, and it will, Amazon will probably take it because among the studios with enough money/power, they're in need of a title that can earn them some reputation in the game industry. Personally, I don't really care who gets EverQuest title because most of the companies that have a long history in the genre didn't release any good games or updates lately. Might as well let some small group, El Dorito maybe, that will actually treasure the title and try to make it what the fans want, a good game. As much as we may wish for that, that just sure as hell ain't going to happen.
No.
Go ahead, Jason.
Bits Turn Bite says, I don't want to see it happen, but I can see Tryon taking EverQuest. Rip. Yeah.
I just don't see it. I don't see it.
No.
Because they're not going to
Rift.
spend money on a project right now. I mean, come on, they're turning Defiance into a Defiance. Go ahead, Q.
Blue Moon 145. I'd like Obsidian Entertainment to pick up EverQuest. They're great with old school RPGs, and I would love to see what they could do with EverQuest.
That is an interesting thought. I don't think they'd pick it up, but I think I agree with them. It'd be an interesting thought. Interesting one. Nintendo says, question of the week. I agree with some here. Amazon might be a good pick, or even Microsoft. Microsoft wants to further buy studios and publishers to broaden their offerings in games. The sad part is that it will be in the Microsoft Store, which is still super subpar compared to even play in every possible way. As long as EA, Take-Two, Activision Blizzard, and especially Bethesda keep their sausage fingers off of it, we'll be fine either way. If any of those pick it up, the game will become a pay-to-win loot box-ridden tumor, and Bethesda will release a very large number version before bringing any relevant content updates to it. Oh, and I should mention every version is a full-price game. Daybreak still owes me $100. Until then, in the event they go down, good riddance. They still owe me $100 too. They still owe me $100.
Whereas Hi-Res Studios could pick it up and put it back into beta for like 6 years.
Right. Right.
Well, and Hi-Res doesn't have a fantasy MMO, so...
Hey,
yeah, that's one we didn't think of, to be fair. I mean, generally, because they're not known for, that genre, but they've got money.
Games.
They can get into that market. Yeah, Riot Games I never would have looked at because they're just like one game.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, no, they have a board game
that
they're working on.
And they have other things coming. Because they want to justify... Remember the article? They want to justify the S at the end of Riot Games. Question of the week this week. We've got a lot of things coming up, surprisingly. When I looked at it, I was kind of thinking, oh, there's not a lot being released soon. But yeah, I came up with a list of like 25 things being released soon, and about 10 or so of which are free to play. So I want to know... We've got a lot coming up. What are you most excited by, and why? Is it Defiance 2050? Is it Lost Ark? Is it Ascent Infinite Realm? Let us know what excites you in the world of free-to-play gaming in the comments below as far as new releases coming up. Don't forget your weekly bombs. Da bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad. And until next week, Q, where can everybody find you?
Lurking on the Twitters at Quinlan.
Jason?
On the Twitters at Winter Informal, streaming twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
Mike Byrne, a.k.a. Magic Man. You can follow me personally right there at MagicMan1 on Twitter. But more importantly, while you're there, follow at MMOBomb so you get the tweets for all the casts, first look articles, including the great one written by Jason. Go check it out. Leave your comments so we know what you think about it. If you want us to write more stuff like that, we'd love to. But you got to want to read it. Until next time, stay safe. We'll see you in the servers.